Welcome to My Mentor. This is a platform that seeks to provide world-class mentoring content by leveraging on the skills, experiences, wisdom, and knowledge of established professionals, leaders, business people, and entrepreneurs. We seek to inspire, empower, and challenge professionals and individuals to reach the next level in their professional, business, and career leadership journeys. Welcome to the next level.
So I think I would assume when you started working, you started as a junior, but now you're in a senior role. What would you say were some of the drivers or secrets, if you like, to that upward progression?
Hard work has been one of them. The other is do not stop learning. Like I said, I think everybody that you meet, that you encounter in your life can teach you something that you didn't know about yourself or about the business that you're in, about the world. So that is very important, being open to new experiences and taking them on along the journey. Being deliberate about what you're trying to do. So I think I've had conversations with people where I say, I'm deliberate about, at a certain point in my life, I want to teach because that's what I really want to do. Yeah. So I'm on this journey, and this journey is driving towards that objective that I have right at the end. Yeah. And then, as much as you can, show the value that you offer, show the value that you present. Be authentic and have conversations with people around you about how do you think I'm helping the business? How do you what do you think I can do better? So that aspect of showing your value and getting feedback about what that value is very important, because especially when you're making a transition. When you're making a transition, sometimes people are putting you in a role that you have never been in. They have to trust you and like you enough to take the chance on you. So you have to have shown value in the role that you are doing or that you have previously doing for you to be able to then move on to the next one.
Yeah, I think that's very, very important. So your point around hard work, what actually is hard work? What does it mean? Is it long hours? Is it being creative? What is it?
Look, it's a mixture of all those things. You would be fooling yourself to say, I'll walk into the office at 8 and leave at 4 or at 5 every day. I would love to do that every single day of my life, together with other priorities that go on in the life. You just have to understand that people are looking for reliable people. So sometimes things do go wrong. And sometimes there is a requirement for you to put in that extra effort, that extra hour. So I think you need to be flexible and open to doing that. So hard work, long hours, to an extent, is a part of it. Working smart is a part of it. For me, the biggest thing about working hard is do what you said you were going to do and deliver it at the standard that you said you were going to deliver it at, or better. So reliability, me being able to count on Shadreck and to not worry about what the piece of work that they're working on all the time, is part of the classification of working hard. So I think if you are a reliable person, if you put in the hours, innovation, like you said, sometimes you need to work smart to get to a product. And then the overall product that you deliver, the quality of the product that you deliver right at the end is also very important in terms of being seen as working hard.
And what's it been for you working for a big organization such as ABSA and previously Barclays Africa?
It's been a journey. Yes, when I joined, it was Barclays Africa. I was actually recruited into a UK run team, and I had an opportunity to work across the continent in the Barclays operations. At the time, the 12 entities.
Yes.
It was an amazing journey. It was a reflection of what diversity is. Working in Kenya and working in Uganda, working in Zimbabwe, working in Botswana, working in South Africa, the challenges are different. The objectives might be the same. The approaches are different. So I think for me, it was a very enlightening journey. It was very enriching for me in terms of the experiences that I had across the African continent. Yeah. I also, in that same conversation, I worked in different teams. So I used to work in audit, and then I worked in audit for the rest of Africa. Then I worked in the retail bank. I worked in wealth advisory. I worked in technology risk. So seeing the business from all these different perspectives gave me an appreciation of the small things it takes to get to this objective and the strategy that the ordinary person sees from the outside. So I think working for a big organization for me, the organization that I work for, has been a marvelous journey, quite enriching.
That's great to hear. And your experience in Africa, what would you say it's taught you about our continent?
The challenge that I had initially, and that I think people still have in general, is I think we always assume that we are the average person. So what I do, the next person should do. We say diversity, but we don't define it to the point of an individual being different from the next, a country being different from the next. So I would walk into an office in Uganda and expect things to be the way that they are in South Africa, which was never the case for most of the time. So I think one of my lessons working across the African continent was maybe I need to suspend some of the assumptions that I have made, and I also need to stop assuming that I'm the prototype of the world and of the continent and expect things to be exactly the way that I expect them to be because I come from a very different environment. So the way that I then started communicating, the way that you need to communicate when you're communicating with different teams had to be different, and it has to be different. You can imagine when you're in a conference call with 2 colleagues from Egypt, 2 from Uganda, 2 from Kenya, 1 from Zimbabwe, 5 from South Africa, 2 from the UK. It's just a different dynamic, and you have to adapt to.
And how do you navigate through that?
You have open conversations with people. You have to be willing to learn, but mostly you have to accept that sometimes you get it wrong. So when you get it wrong, have conversations with people around you. Raise your hand and say, "Look, guys, I might need help here to navigate this." Because remember, it's as difficult for the next person as it is difficult for you, because you are not their cup of tea. You are not what they're used to. So you kind of have to help each other. But for that to happen, that environment, that safe environment where people are okay with being wrong sometimes, has to be created. And that's where the organization comes in.
Yeah. And what would you say a typical day for a head of risk governance looks like?
It's never typical. Any day, something different is going wrong in the business. So there are things that we kind of know that are going to happen on a monthly basis. We have to come and sit together around a table as a governance forum to review our risk practices. So those things kind of happen on an occasional basis, and we can plan for them and in advance. But a lot of what I do, a lot of what my teams do is sometimes we have to go out and put out fires, right? So working for a financial institution, if, for example, our systems are not available, there's never a typical way to deal with that because it happens in a different way every time. So a lot of it has to do with your analytical skills of analyzing the situation that's in front of you right now. Yes, pull from your experiences of previously similar kind of situations and pull that in.
Yeah.
But it's never typical. It's never the same scenario that you're dealing with every day. So every day I walk into the office with the excitement of doing a new job every day.
And you've been involved, given that you're at ABSA now and previously what was called Barclays Africa, you've been in the crux of the massive change that the group has gone through, when Barclays separated from ABSA, the rebranding. Talk to us about that experience, when that was all happening, what was going on in people's minds? How did people navigate it? How did you navigate that big change?
So I had a very supportive group of people around me. So for example, this is a funny one. Because I met the guy a few weeks ago. I got a call from my grade 7 teacher when this was happening. When the announcement was made that Barclays was going to be selling off some of its businesses in Africa, I got a call from my grade 7 teacher and he said, "Are you okay? Are you fine? Do you think you're going to lose your job?" Which wasn't the case. And it was just comforting for me to say someone who taught me in 1997, 96 actually, still thinks about me in this way and still cares about me in this way. So look, I think going back to your question, it was a big change. It was a huge change. Think how long the Barclays brand has been on the continent, right? For many, many years. So in South Africa, for us people in South Africa, it was a little bit different. But you can try and imagine how the colleagues in Kenya and in Zimbabwe felt. Because, for much of their lives, they've had this brand. So I think there was some anxiety around that. Look, it's a journey that we are still walking. I don't think it has been concluded yet. Some of our businesses are still in the process of rebranding to ABSA across the continent. So it was a massive change. There was a lot of anxiety amongst peers and colleagues as a result. I think I got through it because I had a really supportive group of people around me, both in my personal life and in my professional career as well. And I think it also helps that the change itself was handled very well by the organization. We were always in the light of what the next step was going to be. And if it didn't happen at a time when we thought it would happen, we would always get communication as to why it didn't happen.
Yes,
there was never a period of silence where we would then have to use our own assumptions to kind of try and fill in the gaps. So I think that communication was very helpful. I think it's one of the case studies of how to handle change and do it really well.
Yeah.
So it was a tough time. It was made better by the organization in terms of how they actually ran the change.
Talking about support, which links to mentoring, and you mentioned mentorship earlier on. Do you have mentors?
I do. I've had different ones at different points in my career. depending on where I'm trying to go, I then have to make a decision in terms of who can I learn from, approach a few individuals, and
what do you tell them when you approach them?
you tell them exactly what your story is. It's an open conversation about where you are trying to go, why you think they will be a good companion on that journey. Show the value that they are going to give to you, the value that you're looking for, and why you think they fit the description of what you're looking for.
Yeah. Sometimes people look at someone who's very successful and they wish I could be mentored by this person, but they don't really know how to extract that value from the person. The kind of questions to ask, the discussion topics to delve on. How do you maximize your mentoring relationships?
You really have to define what you're trying to get out of it. And I think that's important. That's the thing that you need to do first. So it's actually a decision on whether or not you need a mentor. Mm-hmm. So is there another way of doing this? Because remember, if you are trying to get a job, for example,
yes,
that's not the role of a mentor.
Okay.
Right? Mm. Are you trying to build yourself? Are you trying to improve yourself and move yourself forward? Maybe now we are in the territory of a mentor. So define what you're trying to achieve. Look at the different ways that you can achieve this. If you have now have that clarity that you need a mentor, approach one you can get. Right? Because I would want Barack Obama to be my mentor, right? That would be a lovely thing. Yeah. Is it attainable? I don't think so. So get a mentor that A, you can actually get, and two, they will have time for you to be with them and for them to walk you through the journey. Yeah.
Let's run down. If someone is watching this and they're at crossroads in their career, either they're struggling to find a job or they're in a space where they're not enjoying what they're doing and they need to pivot to a different career path, how do they approach, getting into that next phase? What advice can you offer?
All right. So in your current career, I think we have had a conversation before briefly to say you have to show the value that you're bringing in your current role before you move to the next. Is there a different way to put this across? If you haven't done a certain job before, you kind of need to borrow somebody's reputation to get you into that job before you have your own.
Yeah.
So I'm going to borrow my mentor's reputation, for example, or a friend's reputation who's going to recommend me into a role. So I have borrowed their reputation. So they've put theirs.
Borrowing someone's reputation means what exactly?
It means you do not have credibility. Mm-hmm. You yourself do not have credibility. There's someone who does. Mm-hmm. And now they're putting their credibility on the line, saying you can do the job. Yeah. Before the person who's putting you into the role knows nothing about you.
So I'd approach someone like Shadreck and say, I'm looking to pivot into this space or looking to get a job here.
Yes.
Can you assist me by talking to, the hiring manager? Is that what you're talking about?
So I'm talking, to an extent, yes.
Yeah.
But the general concept is sometimes conversations about us happen on tables that we do not sit.
Yes, absolutely.
And somebody else happens to sit on that table.
Yeah.
And now that person is putting their reputation and credibility on the line by saying, I think you can do it.
Yes.
They haven't seen you doing it. They have seen you do something else. Yeah. And you have done that something else so well that they're willing to say you can do the next thing so well. So it's their reputation that they're putting on the line before you build yours in the new role.
I think that's very good advice. When you reflect back, what would you say are some of the habits that you embody or practice consistently that you believe contribute to your success?
So I read. Look, I encourage everybody to read. Yeah. There are books out there about people's life experiences. So they've just put down their life experience, their 40 years worth of experience, into a 6-hour read.
Yes.
What more do you want? Yeah. So before you go out there and find a mentor, for example, 6 hours of your time, right? So I read a lot. I read. I like reading fiction. Okay. So at any time, I'm reading 3 books, right? I'm reading a book that I think would improve a skill that I need. Mm-hmm. I'm reading fiction because you don't want to mess a good story with the truth. It's I do that for entertainment.
Yeah.
And then the third thing that I'll be reading at the time is something that I'm working towards my academic career. So for any time I have those 3 reads, one in audio, and the 2 in hard copy reading. Yeah. So for me that's one of the.
So in a day you split some in the morning, some in the evening,
and some on my drive to work.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. That's where the audiobook comes in.
Yeah.
And then reflecting on your day, right? So 10 minutes before you go to bed, and say, this is what happened during the day. This is what I did really well. This is where I need to improve. This is something that I really need to stop doing.
Yeah.
So I think that self-introspection on a daily basis gives you an opportunity to leave the next day differently, or the same, depending on how the previous day has gone. So I think 2 habits: read and take time to reflect.
And lastly, what's the next big chapter for you?
This question was much easier to answer in November before I started my new job. I actually had this conversation with my manager over lunch yesterday, where I said, I'm doing this interview, and one of the questions that might come up is this. In September last year, I would have told you exactly what my next step is. But I've just moved into a role where I'm really enjoying life. I'm waking up every morning to go to work with this excitement of, I'm in a place where, firstly, my contribution matters. Secondly, people matter. The way that the team is structured, the way that the team works, everyone looks out for the next person. So I'm really enjoying that. And also, it's a new environment where things sound basic to everybody else except me. So every day I'm kind of learning a new thing. So that journey, as short as it has been wonderful to this point. So I kind of had to put my plans for what's coming next on hold. But what I can tell you is happening and will always be happening is I'm working on my academic career. I think people that I've had conversations with, people who are close to me, know that I want to end up in front of a class. It's clearer now. It's now a university class. I don't know what exactly I want to teach. There was a time when I just knew I wanted to teach. I didn't know if it was primary school, secondary school, or university. So now it's much more clearer. I think it will be.
I don't want to let this pass. So what's the driving force behind that? You've got an established career, you're doing well, and you want to go teach. What's the attraction about it?
It's because I enjoy it. So currently, I do a different kind of teaching. I teach karate classes.
Okay. You've got a black
for
belt.
kids. I'm a second dan black belt in Kyokushin. That's a full contact form of karate. So I teach that, and when I'm doing it, when I am giving knowledge to the next person, it feels good.
Yes.
Right? But I have a liking of education. Like I told you, my father taught himself to read and write. My mother is one of the smartest people I know in the world. Unfortunately, she comes from a generation where the girl child could only go so far in their education journey. She's still upset about it. But the two of them have this value of education that I don't understand. They value something that they never had, no opportunity to have. So it's ingrained in me somehow. So if I can be a part of that system and transferring and knowledge from into the next generation, I would love to do that. So that explains it.
That's quite commendable, and I must thank you, Shadreck. Thank you so much, and congratulations again for all your achievements to date.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me, and I think this was a good chat. Again, an opportunity for me to introspect and work on what I need to work on going forward.
Awesome.